listening to Unravel with Natly Denise.
What up, guys? What's going on? Welcome. Oh my gosh, I'm only 10 minutes late today. It's a new day. How are you all? I hope you guys had a great day. Yes, I hope you're having a great day. If you are listening to me on as a morning show, as a lot of you do listen to me in the morning, I would love to do a morning show, but you know what? I kind of like doing this at night because I get to cover it as soon as it happens. And, in the morning, you have fresh news. You have a fresh recap of the day before. So let's say hi to the chat. What's going on, JB, Mark, Ken, Austell, Tank, Darla, the only Warnley, some of my regulars. What's going on, guys? Man, today I am tired. I always do this thing where I work out super duper duper early in the morning, but I go to sleep super late at night. So the next day I'm exhausted. And I don't know why I do that to myself, but I made a mental decision today that I was going to, I had to change something. Either if I'm going to keep waking up super early, then maybe I'll change the Monday and Wednesday podcast, maybe 30 minutes early or maybe an hour early. I don't know yet. Or maybe I'll cut the podcast short a little bit. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it because I still kind of like my time here, but also I know I have to preserve my health, and getting sleep is definitely something that I love to do. Mama T from Australia, right? Welcome. Always love my foreign audience joining in on the Americas. What's going on? Although I do cover international news, so I really appreciate that. Hey, Mama T, share this podcast with more people in Australia. Would love it. What else is going on? Yeah, lots underway. I don't want to repeat my news and my updates because they're kind of the same. So let's go ahead and just jump straight to it, shall we? All right. As always, we're going to start out with scripture. Yesterday, we started out. We started out with. Why is this a repetitive thing? Okay, here we go. We started off with Psalm 7 and we went through half of it. So we're going to finish the other half today. So again, we kind of see just David in anguish. And this is, his psalm, his cry out to the Lord. We always see this theme of David in the Psalms, lamenting, then praising. And I think that's a great pattern for us to adapt. Once we do lament, and I was lamenting to my mom today on the phone. I always lament to my mom, something is taking so long, or I'm still waiting, Mom. And it just feels like, such a long time. And she always ended up with this praise. She was like, just keep praising, keep thanking. She was like, God's got a promise. And it's it's the same thing that we see in the Psalms where there's lament, but then we forget to praise. And I forget that worry is worship in the enemy's eyes. I forget that. And that's so detrimental. It's so detrimental to our faith life. So let's finish the Psalm 7. It says, my shield is God Most High, who saves the upright in heart. God is a righteous judge, a God who displays his wrath every day. So let's start there, right? My shield is God Most High, who saves the upright in heart. In Psalm 91, further down in the Psalms, David names the Lord as his shield and his rampart. His faithfulness is his shield and his rampart. So let's put this in context of faith. My shield is God Most High. So God's faithfulness is his shield. The faithfulness in God is his shield. That's my shield. That's what I block the enemy with, is my faith in God, who saves the upright in heart. God is a righteous. I'm sorry. Going back, who saves the upright in heart? The upright. I think that's a big point out, a big emboldening there. He saves the upright in heart. So who's upright in heart? Are you righteous, or do you have malintent in your heart? You have to check your heart consistently. Then it continues, God is a righteous judge, a God who displays his wrath every day. So think about that. God is a righteous judge. And just because it's not in our timing, and I'm preaching to myself here, right? Just because I'm always like tapping my microphone. Sorry about that. Just because it's not in our timing, that doesn't change the fact that God is righteous. God is righteous in his time. He's righteous. He shows his wrath every day, meaning that one person, at least one person or a group of people, get his wrath. We just don't see it. If he does not relent, he will sharpen his sword. He will bend and string his bow. He has prepared his deadly weapons. He makes ready his flaming arrows. And this just illustrates just how hard and how vengeful God works on our behalf. We don't have to act. God already has his ammo. He has what he needs. It's perfect. It's in perfect timing. He is readying all his ammo. He's sharpening his sword. He's bending the string at his bow. He's prepared with his deadly weapons. He makes ready his flaming arrows. God knows. God's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. He's everywhere at all times. He knows everything that's going on. So it's his timing. We just need to trust. Continued on. Whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to delusionment. Ooh, let's just stop right there. Whoever is pregnant with evil. So let's think about that. What does that look like when people are pregnant with evil? They always have and contain this evilness in their heart. They always have malintent, just bottled up and ready to just deploy out. That's the enemy's tactics. And the enemy utilizes puppeteers. He utilizes meat puppets, people who are willing to commit the enemy's plans. And these people are pregnant with evil. It's just always there. It's festering within their souls. And we should actually have we should feel sorry for these people because they're already their own torment. Whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to delusionment. So think about that, delusionment. What is delusionment? What is the definition of delusionment? Disillusionment. It means disappointment resulting from the discovery that something is not as good as one believed it to be. In a verb, it means to cause someone to realize that a belief or an ideal is false. Isn't that something? It gives birth. Those who withhold this evil in their spirit, the haters, the people who plot, the people who conspire against you, who take matters in their own hands, who lie on you, these people who slander you, they are pregnant with evil and it conceives trouble. It gives birth to trouble. It gives birth to a disappointment resulting from the discovery that something is not as good as one believed it to be. So think about that. If they are disillusioned at the end of the day of their plot and scheme against you, whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to this. They're like, oh, it's not as good as it might be good for them in a moment. They might be on a high, right? They might be on a high because they just think in that mere moment that, oh, I've got that person, these slanders, these lies are working. Look, it's breaking them down. But look at what David is doing. He's putting his faith continually in the Lord. He's continually leaning his faith on God. And what is it going to birth? It's going to birth disillusionment to those that come against him. And the same thing applies to you, right? Disillusionment. The enemy against you, they're going to find whatever that they're conceiving against you. It's not as good as they once thought. It's going to end up in disappointment. It's even going to end up in embarrassment because they have dug their own holes within their own plots to come against you. Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. Guys, I didn't even read the next line, and I knew that's what was going to happen. They make their own holes. They want as much as they come hard against you is as bigger their hole is for themselves. That's why you don't take it up on yourself to put vengeance back on them, because essentially you don't want to conceive evil, right? Because we have to mirror ourselves against the evil ones. We don't want to deploy fire with fire tactics. You know, you have to rely on God. God will give you the right compass, the right guidance of what you should do in this situation. A lot, if not all times, it is just to stay still and to turn the other cheek. And I know that verse makes Christians feel and seem weak, but it's actually not. Think about it. If you turn the other cheek, if someone slaps you on the cheek, and you're just kind of like, all right, and then you just turn the other one so they can slap that one too. Is that weakness, or is it more like, yo, this person's hard. Like, what's going on? Why are you letting me slap the other cheek? Why? Because it exposes the enemy's tactics. It makes them look worse for themselves than it does for you. You're literally not doing anything, right? So they dig their own holes, and as much as they come against you is as bigger their hole they are going to dig up for themselves. And sometimes they can't escape that hole. The trouble they cause, on verse 16, the trouble they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own heads. Think about that. The slander, the lies, the campaigns, the smear campaigns that they have conceived on you are going to go back on them. This is God's word. Stand on it. Right? This is like a trial. This is the evidence, and you're presenting this to the judge. The judge is God. God, it says in your evidence right here in your word that whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls in the pit they've made. Lord, I stand on that word. Lord, it says in your word that the trouble that they cause recoils on them. Lord, the enemies that come against me, Lord, it says in your word that their violence will come down on their own heads. So, Lord, I'm standing on your word, right? Present this to the judge. And it says that earlier on in the scripture, it says that God is a righteous judge. I will give thanks to the Lord because of his righteousness. I will sing the praises of the name of the Lord Most High, the Lord Most High. So again, it repeats righteousness, and it just this right here circles back right back up, not to be Jen Psaki, but it circles right back up to here. Make righteous, secure, righteous. Let's pair up all these words. Righteous, secure. Come on. Highlight this word for me, computer. Gosh darn it. Gosh, dog it. Oh, you're going to give me trouble, you say? Okay, so righteous, 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 righteous. Right here, righteous. Righteous. God is a righteous judge right here too, right here. You know, come on. It's going to make me do this thing again. Let me just highlight this word without doing all this. Okay. So righteous. So God, make the righteous secure. God is a righteous judge. And then at the end, I will give thanks to the Lord because of his righteousness. So we ride on righteousness no matter what. God is a righteous God. He sees absolutely every conversation, more than the slander that you see that's put in front of your face. God sees more than that. He has more tea than what you have in front of your face. God will judge them on every single motive, every single move that they make against you. And you don't even have to hear the rest of their conversations, which is more slander, lies, more conceiving violence, conceiving these evil deeds against you. God sees all of that, and he's righteous in his judgment. So I'm preaching to myself, guys. I need this word. I need this word every single day. But yeah, this is the rest of Psalm 7. So we just went through Psalm 7. So tomorrow we'll start on Psalm 8. Psalms 8. But what a great word, right? If you're facing persecution in the dimness of darkness and evil, you know, this is a Oh, people are saying this sounds like Trudeau. I mean, look, if he's conceiving all these dark things along with all these other powers who want to come against their people, look, that they dig their own hole. So have faith on that. Have faith that he will make it. He will make his own hole to fall into. What's up? What is it? Mr. Nice One. Mr. Nice One from H-Town. What's up, Mr. Nice One? Nice to see a fellow Houstonian in the house. All right. You guys know that Bethel is actually in Houston right now. It's funny because I have some friends out there that are not Bethel fans, but they're there to basically like spectate on the event. And the Bethel camp wouldn't let them take a picture with them. And they sniffed them out. They were like, you're not here to take pictures with Bethel. You're here to cause trouble. I thought that was funny. But yeah, Bethel's in H-Town as we speak right now. All right, let's get started on some of this news, shall we? All right, so we're talking a little bit about the Durham probe. We've been talking about this. I've been talking about this since the birth of this a couple months ago when this first came about Michael Sussman being indicted, the lawyer activity. It's on my main YouTube channel, youtube.com/Natly Denise. I've got videos already on it. So we've been talking about this. Now Trump chimes in, and Trump, you guys know, Trump is just saying what he already knew. Trump is just stating the obvious. He knew this since the very beginning. Donald Trump, and this is coming from Daily Mail, claims special counsel John Durham's probe into the former president ties to Russia hoax revealed that the alleged spying by Hillary Clinton's campaign was treason at the highest level. This was one of the memos that he put out, I believe, yesterday or the day before. Maybe it was Saturday. And says, it looks like this is just the beginning, because if you read the filing and have any understanding of what took place, and I called this a long time ago, you're going to see a lot of other things happening having to do with that. Really is just a continuation of the crime of the century, Trump said in an exclusive interview with Fox News on Tuesday. Oh, okay. So this was not in a memo. This was actually in an exclusive interview. Now, this is what I want to say too. You guys remember, you know what? Like, this is why I have not been one to turn against Trump. And I know a lot of people have different opinions, and I respect your opinions if you are completely opposite. I know a lot of people turned against Trump. A lot of people did. And despite there not being a lot of, activity for a long time since the 2020 chiefs elections, I'm telling you, go to my channel, youtube.com/Natly Denise. There's been specific things that I have pointed out that have alluded to a lot of activity that I'm like, look, guys, it just doesn't make sense. I've been saying this. It doesn't make sense that he would amend executive orders days out of exiting office. It doesn't make sense that he'd be so chill just playing golf, and take it, whatever. He's Donald Trump. He has the money to go play golf and relax and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But there was just a certain demeanor to him that I picked up on it. Like, this is not it. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And again, I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I have not turned against him. And I've seen so many people, especially it's so strange to be in the Patriot kind of influencer square, if that makes any sense. And seeing your peers kind of just turn and, turn their opinions completely upside down. Now, I, haven't necessarily, there are some things that have been said that I'm like, yo, you can't claim this entire thing like that. No, oh, dude, Trump is this Satanist and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa. There's just some extreme blue and non-conspiracy theories that have just birthed out of all this. So that stuff, I'm obviously I have alluded my content to speak out against. But, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go and attack people for their change of opinion. I'm just not going to change my opinion until I see fruition in many respects. And again, along with the executive orders that I have pointed out very specifically, there's just been a lot of other activity. and we forgot about the Durham probe. Now, imagine this with the Durham probe. With the Durham probe, upon his exit, I'm doing bunny ears, exit out of office, they actually, if you remember, they changed the status of the investigation so that way the new administration, the Biden administration, wouldn't be able to touch Durham and his work. So they reclassified Durham as like some sort of council, if you guys remember that. Even that, it seems so insignificant, but that is something big. This was something they were planning way before Trump exited office. They just made the move that one day. They switched it. I'm telling you, like, there's really intricate little things that happened that just don't allude that all of this is over. People already gave up. Anyway, I'm just ranting here, but anyway, this is such a big event. Nobody's seen anything like this. Of course, that's a very Trump-tastic thing to say. The former president claimed that he didn't have any insight into the allegations outlined in Durham's February 11th court filing until it was made public, but noted that the Department of Justice official found things far bigger than anybody thought possible. He knew. Now that part I don't believe. I think he knew. I don't think that Durham was like, yo, this is the outline or whatever like that, because obviously there were no leaks in the investigation. And I think that in order for there to be absolutely no leaks, it has to be tightened in that way. But Trump was the person who was at subject of the entire probe. So why would he not know what the heck was going on? Durham alleged that Clinton's presidential campaign paid to infiltrate and exploit servers at Trump Tower, Trump's Central Park West apartment, a particular healthcare provider, and the White House to establish an interference in narrative. I talked about this at length in a video I did recently. But basically, there was more of a triangulation. There were lawyers involved, Michael Sussman, Mark Elias, and a data tech executive, in which that's where they sourced their data set from. And they even had researchers there. I think there's even like particular researchers in this investigation that are at question that actually data mined this data subset. And that's where they were like, yo, this is the part. And it was a very weak link within that data subset, which I'm then referencing how they infiltrated the servers to, data mine this type of information. False information, by the way. The filing also accused Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman of bringing Trump-Russia allegations that relied on part of traffic assembled by the servers and the FBI and the CIA. Durham was appointed in 2019 by then Attorney General William Barr to investigate possible misconduct within the U.S. government as it investigated Russian interference. You guys know the rest. In a section filing titled Factual Background, Durham argued that those involved with the infiltration of the servers were mining traffic and other data in the purpose of gathering derogatory information about Donald Trump. This is what Donald Trump had to say. Who would think a thing like this was even possible, Trump said. Durham is also coming up with things far bigger than anybody thought possible. Nobody ever thought that a thing like this would ever be discussed, let alone an act like this committed. He added, this is treason at the highest level. And he, even in a memo, he alluded that, oh, this type of crime, if it was back then when our forefathers, were doing this, it would be some other outcome. You guys know that outcome. I can't say it on this platform, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Trump went on to say the arrangement was a stage one crime and as bad as it gets, while comparing it to the Watergate scandal that led to Richard Nixon's resignation. He said that it's much bigger than that. So that is, this is just repetitive information. I see a lot of content creators that are kind of repeating the same information that we've known a long time. Hey, Keem, nice to see ya. Thank you so much for modding for me. But this is paying dividends to look crazy for a little bit, right? Everybody was calling me crazy, hopium, Trump worshiper. Guys, you see me worship scripture. You see me, you know, I there's a difference. You can delegate the way that you can just see information that's right in front of you and, see who's telling the truth, who's actually producing fruit. You know what I mean? It says in the word to do that. There's a difference between that and worshiping Trump and just seeing it for what it is. So don't let people gaslight you to think that, oh, I'm worshiping Trump. No, it's like you just see the information and you're enthused about the information, that it's like it's painting a different picture. And that's what we've been waiting on for all these months. And finally, it's coming to fruition. But it pays dividends to wait and to see. I always say this, always say this. I as much as I used to before, I used to theorize and place my hope in dates, and times, and like, oh, it's going to happen by this time. I think a lot of people were like that. Like, let's not lie, right? A lot of people had that sort of expectation, me included. But all this time of waiting made me kind of sit still and just analyze and just see everything for what it was. But the thing that I wanted to get to was, this is why I never claim to know what is going on. I often see, and I cannot specify this point hard enough. So many people out there, still in my comment sections too, like in my Instagram, so many people claim nothing is going to happen. Nothing will ever happen to these people. It never happens. Nothing's happening. Like they're so definitive and declarative that nothing is going to happen. I'm like, well, can you tell me the lottery numbers for tomorrow or something, or next week? Because I would really love your insight to, like, because you're so definitive on what you know on the future. Like, please give me those lottery numbers. Because the thing is we don't know. We just don't. We don't know days, times. We don't know anything. So anymore, I'm humble enough to say I do not know what's going to happen. But in saying that, that also means that I am not going to declare that nothing is happening, because we truly do not know. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? All right. So that's some Durham news. Right. Let's go ahead and pivot to the Daily TrafficK, where I bring you the latest in human and sex trafficking news. Now, this is quite early that I'm doing the Daily TrafficK, but there's quite a bit of news to cover. Now, excuse me. All right, this was a story that was published a few days ago. Actually, it was published yesterday, but I thought that it was quite significant and nobody was talking about this. A Connecticut socialite mother of 4 admits inappropriately filming minors, children, in her mansion as part of another mysterious plea deal to have other child sex charges dropped. This is quite some details here. Okay. A Connecticut socialite, coming from the Daily Mail. This is a story from Daily Mail. A Connecticut socialite has pleaded guilty to inappropriately filming minors as part of a mysterious plea deal in which other more serious child sex abuse charges were dropped. Hadley Palmer, 53, is a mother of 4, financier's wife, and daughter of a wealthy hedge fund founder. She lives in Belhaven, Connecticut, with a $10 million mansion and has 4 kids with her estranged husband, Bradley. Palmer is a regular at the Connecticut social scene, as it regularly photographed at charity events. But in October of last year, she was arrested on charges of felony voyeurism, felony invasion of privacy, and felony causing an injury to a child. The voyeurism charge against her involved recording some naked or in their underwear without their consent or knowledge, with the intent to arouse or satisfy the sexual desire of such a person, the defendant, or any other person. Sick. It related to an incident in 2017 and 2018. More serious charges of employing a minor in an obscene performance, a Class A felony, and possession of child pornography were on the table. The case has only been brought to light in the matter of a plea deal. One of the only publicly available documents in the case was reported by the Associated Press, which has been fighting to make the story public on Monday. After the arrest in October, Palmer filed an application for a special probation a probation program known as accelerated rehabilitation, which immediately sealed the file. She then negotiated a deal with prosecutors in which will drop more serious charges in exchange for her pleading guilty in voyeurism. So think about that. Life of the rich, life of the politics. She goes to charity events. She's a socialite. How much can you bet that she knew politicians in her local government? You know what I mean? How was she able to get this deal? This is a very, very quick paragraph here, but we're going to go through it just one more time because just paint the picture for you guys. Just paint it. After her arrest in October, Palmer filed an application for the special probation program known as accelerated rehabilitation, which immediately sealed the file. She then negotiated a deal with prosecutors in which they will drop more serious charges in exchange for her pleading guilty on voyeurism. I don't know why she's not being charged with child sexual exploitation and production of child pornography, right? I mean, listen to all the stories we've been going through every single night. There have been so many details that kind of parallel to what she's doing here, and she gets charged with voyeurism. Voyeurism is basically like peeping Tom. There's much more seriousness to this, I believe. Now she has begun to a recommended 90-day sentence at a woman's prison in Connecticut while awaiting a formal sentencing in August. She will also have to sign to the sex offenders registry if the deal is accepted. This is the socialite. This is her $10 million home, her mansion. Prosecutor Daniel Cummings has not commented publicly on the case, and much of it remains unknown. Judge John Blawy in Stamford ruled that Thursday the entire file should be sealed to protect the victim's identity, that opening it while redacting some of the documents would inevitably lead to the minor victims being identified. Well, that part I can kind of side with, if it is to protect the child's identities, then I am all for that. However, I still want to know more details, right? So there's a way, I feel like there's a way to present this information to the public by redaction instead of sealing the entire file, Between 2017 and 2018, the defendant knowingly photographed, filmed, and recorded certain individuals without their knowledge or consent and tongue twister. I cannot talk right now. And under circumstances where those individuals were not in plain view and had a reasonable expectation of privacy. At least one photograph taken by the defendant depicted a person who was a minor, he wrote, a child. Legal experts tell the Associated Press, whose reporters opposed the seal, that was a highly unusual move for her file to be sealed immediately, and many say that she did not even qualify for accelerated rehabilitation. Exactly. So, which kind of argues my original point. Now, I am all for protecting the children and whatever it will take to protect the identities of the children, right? But like I said, there's a way that you could still do this while making this file available to the public. Unless she knew someone in the higher up that went down the chain of command to put in some sort of favor for her file to be sealed immediately. They are demanding to know why she has been able to hide from the public view when other defendants have not. Palmer is due in court August 1st for sentencing. The plea deal suggests that she would serve 90 days to 5 years in prison. And I just by assessing these details, probably not the latter. She's probably going to get a slap on the wrist because she's rich and she knows higher ups in her local government. I almost guarantee you this. It remains unclear what led to her arrest last October. The New York Times first reported it today, along with details of the plea deal. According to that report, both she and child victims involved asked the judge to seal the case. Along with Palmer, a psychologist who's been charged in the case for failing to report that she allegedly had she had done. Dr. Jerome Broadley was charged with intentionally not reporting Palmer's alleged crimes to the authorities, as he is legally bound to do. Hadley Palmer filed for divorce from her financier husband Bradley in June of 2020. It is unclear if their divorce has been finalized. The pair are understood to have 4 kids together, including one who is 19. The ages of the other children are not known. Property records place Palmer in the family's $10 million home in Bellhaven, Connecticut, at the time of the alleged crimes in 2017 and 2018. She also has a property nearby on the water for an estimated $3 million. Her kids went to prestigious private schools like the Wharton School, and she was popular in the Connecticut social circuit. Bradley Palmer did not respond to messages on Monday. Imagine that. Imagine that entire story. A rich socialite got away with having these really, I suspect, nefarious details hidden, covered up, sealed. She had favor within her local government that affected the judgment against the oath to protect the community against predators like this. It don't matter if you're a millionaire or if you're a homeless person. Right? Justice should be equal. Justice ought to be equal. A predator is a predator. And if you were a rich woman with a $10 million home, I would expect the same justice, the same weight of justice that would be put on a homeless person who did the same thing to these children. This is not fair. This is not fair. Connecticut socialite. Oh, this is actually a theory that is pretty probable. It says she probably took the hit for her husband. Now, we can't say that for sure, right? But it is questionable why her husband is not mentioned or responded for comment. You probably only heard this on the Daily TrafficK, guys. Be sure to give this video a like, or this podcast. If you guys are listening on podcasts, rate this 5 stars, because you are not going to hear this type of information anywhere else. My goodness. It's really, really sad that this is the only place that you're going to hear a story like this, where rich socialites, in which we always give the likeness to people like Epstein, the rich and famous, the celebrities, the Hollywood. There is a mom in a $10 million mansion exploiting children on camera. And she didn't get charged with child sexual exploitation. Imagine that. All right. The next story coming from the Los Angeles Times. 500 are arrested in a statewide human trafficking operation. Authorities on Tuesday announced the results of a statewide crackdown on human trafficking that resulted in nearly 500 arrests and more than 80 workers being helped. Now, I made a video on this right before Super Bowl. I made it on Friday. There was this big narrative coming from mainstream media sources. Oh, the fake myth on human trafficking and Super Bowl. Really? Really? Because there were 500 arrests. 500 arrests. That's half a thousand Johns that were arrested. There were 80 people that were actually rescued. In other words, says sex workers being helped. Villanueva, who is the Los Angeles County Sheriff, says 34 people were suspected of trafficking or exploiting sex workers that were arrested, along with 201 people who were allegedly caught trying to buy sex. He did not account for the remaining arrests. About 6 dozen adults and 8 minors were rescued. Think about that. 6 adults I'm sorry, 6 dozen adults and 8 minors were rescued. Look at the way that Los Angeles Times writes this out. Take a look at this. Exhibit A. We're in a museum. Look at this exhibit right here. Why do you keep disappearing on me, highlighter? 6 dozen adults. Notice how I almost stumbled over that statement because I almost said almost 6 adults. No, Los Angeles Times, 6 dozen adults were rescued. 6 dozen. Let's just do a quick calculation here because this deserves 72. About 72 adults and 8 children were rescued out of this operation. So much for a myth, right? Across the state, law enforcement agencies joined us to send a message to pimps, exploiters, and buyers that is unacceptable to buy another human being for sexual purposes, 𝘱𝘂𝘦𝘴 said. In Pittsburgh, a suburb in Contra Costa County, authorities caught a man who was allegedly running a prostitution ring nationwide. A search warrant turned up 2 handguns, an AR-15, a shotgun, body armor, and 100 rounds of ammunition, 𝘱𝘂𝘦𝘴 said. Interesting details. So much for a fake myth around human trafficking in which this happened right around. This was just announced today that this was a conclusion of an operation. So much for a myth. But there was a man who was discovered running a prostitution ring in Costa Mesa. He said officers scheduled a date online with the woman. Police conducted a traffic stop of the man who had been driving her, during which they found an unregistered loaded gun. 𝘱𝘂𝘦𝘴 said authorities determined the woman had been working for the man for 2 years, starting when she was a minor. Oh. So at a time, he was child trafficking. That should kind of illustrate to you how pervasive this is. Once they get their claws on someone, they're going to continue exploiting them from childhood into adulthood, 𝘱𝘂𝘦𝘴 said. Interesting. Well, coming from the Los Angeles Times, the very outlet that said that this was all a myth. I'm going to do a separate video because I'm feeling hot about this. I'm going to do a separate video and put it on my main YouTube, youtube.com/Natly Denise. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe right now. I'm going to make a video just dedicated on this subject. Just dedicated as a follow-up to my original heated rant on these myths that they're trying to portray out to the public. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable that they would portray that lie. And then it bore fruit. 500 arrested. Interesting. Next story coming from News Channel 8, WFLA. Riverview principal was among 18 arrested in human trafficking sting. 2 teens rescued, deputies say. An investigation into human trafficking led to the arrests of more than a dozen people in Hillsborough County and rescue of 2 15-year-old girls, authorities said Tuesday. The months-long investigation, dubbed Operation Wanderlust, started in November of 2021. Authorities said that those arrested in the sting had allegedly been communicating with undercover investigators who were posing as minors online. The men would solicit sex acts from the undercover officers, then send them inappropriate pictures, according to deputies. Half of those arrested had traveled to Hillsborough County to meet them for sex, the arrest report said. These suspects came from all walks of life, including Derek McLaughlin, the principal of a elementary school. Again, I need you guys to like that video right now. Like this podcast, rate it 5 stars. This is, I guarantee you, this is the first time you're going to hear about this. The suspects came from all walks of life, including Derek McLaughlin, the principal of an elementary school, soliciting children online to meet them for sexual interactions. Another suspect, Robin Vars, who is known to be affiliated with his father's church, Bethel of Brandon Pentecostal Church. No matter what these suspects did for a living, they sought to take advantage of a child in our area, which is unacceptable. We are thankful for these men who are we're thankful that these men encountered our detectives online instead of a real child. More tea on this principal who was arrested in January. When this was under investigation, authorities said the principal, McLaughlin, who was the principal at Dawson Elementary School in Riverview, was accused of sending sexually explicit texts to an undercover detective. There is no indication where any of there were any of the other victims, according to the deputies. He faces charges to use computer services or devices to solicit certain illegal acts, lascivious battery, engage attempt, unlawful use of a two-way communications device. Another suspect was arrested twice during the investigation, authorities said. After he was busted, authorities said they found disturbing material on Eduardo Antonio Iglesias Amaya's phone. He was hit with 18 counts of child porn. He also faces charges of use of computer services or devices to solicit certain illegal acts, lewd, lascivious battery, engage attempt, unlawful use of a two-way communication device, transmission of harmful material to a minor, and traveling to meet a minor, a child, after using computer services and devices to solicit certain illegal acts, authorities said. Deputies said that they rescued a 15-year-old girl who had a history of falling prey to commercial sex trafficking. The other girl, 15, was also being groomed by a 41-year-old man who allegedly wanted to take part in his rape BDSM fantasies, authorities said. Guys, this BDSM stuff, honestly, like it becoming a normalcy, as if this is like a sexual like aptitude, this is abuse. 50 Shades of Grey just completely like did a horrible job of normalizing this as just like some form of sexual fetish. But this is, I mean, think about this. A 41-year-old man wanting to abuse a child in such a way with, you know, these acts of BDSM, you know? I mean, it's just dark. Authorities said author Alan Voss was communicating with the teen via social media, and her father found her messages. Voss was arrested after he traveled to meet an undercover detective posing as the girl. Deputies found a firearm and a leather paddle and a condom in his vehicle, authorities said. Think about this. This was a 15-year-old girl. And this 41-year-old man had like leather articles. Like, that's sick. What world, like, how much have we been normalized and groomed as a society to accept like this is normal? I mean, just, oh, it's so sick. This is just in Florida. This is just like a random sting. Imagine the dark details just in this one sting. All right, continued on to the next story coming from WFTS Tampa Bay. 2 potential human trafficking victims rescued in Hillsborough County in undercover. I think this is the same story. Yes, this is the same story. So moving on to the next one. Actually, no, that's the same story as well. So kind of went through it with you guys. It's just increasingly more dark. That's why we need to be more truthful. Guys, thank you so much for just being in tuned and wanting to learn about this type of information on a day-to-day basis. It's very important that you can continue to hear these stories. Hear it and repeat it. You know, hear and repeat. This is what happened in Florida. This is what happened in Los Angeles. This is what this man was planning to do with this 15-year-old girl. Continue talking about it and talk about it until you're blue in the face, until people will listen to you. The more that we're more informed, the more that we are going to make a change in our society, because a lot of people still don't know about this stuff. including daily stories like this that happen. It's incredible that every single day I can come up with a 6 story like that just based off of what I am willing to report. So with that being said, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Nightly with Natly, the Daily Traffic, both segments of Unravel with Natly Denise. I really appreciate your attention to these matters. Thanks so much. I will catch you guys in tomorrow's episode. Until then, sleep easy, have a great day, and stay blessed. I will talk to you guys in the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natly Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.